This recapitulation is based on the assumption, my hopeful assumption, that the African Democratic Congress (ADC) will win in the 2027 elections. Uh, the with particular reference to the presidential election, but also uh, at least some others, some states, some National Assembly elections, and others like that, so that the party can really be in power without fear of being um, being sacked by the opposition. Uh, Now we have to consider the personalities involved in the ADC as the drivers of the opposition coalition political party. Who are the drivers? What are their antecedents? It's necessary not so as to demarcate them, but to prepare them for the task ahead, if only because once beaten, twice shy. The so-called All Progressives Congress has been retrogressing Nigeria since 2015 till date, 2025, notwithstanding their promises of a better Nigeria, peaceful, united, progressive. But it has been nothing but retrogression since 2015 till date, adding herdsmen terrorism to the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community, and now declaring fuel subsidy gone, all other subsidies gone. So we have to hope that there will be change, positive change in 2027, and that the ADC, at least for all we can see for now, is the coalition political party with which Nigerians must team up and floor the so-called All Progressives Congress, retrogressing Nigeria since 2015. So, who are the dramatis personae on which we are focusing, and their antecedents? When you look at the chairman of the ADC, David Mark, he was the Senate president when the jihadist war against the Boko Haram Muslim community was imposed on Nigeria. Aminu Tambuwa is another chieftain of the ADC who was the speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives when the Boko Haram Muslim was imposed on Nigeria. That was when the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, was the ruling political party, and David Mark and Aminu Tambuwa belonged to that ruling party, with Umaru Musa Yaradua as the president. And both David Mark and Aminu Tambuwa supported imposition of a jihadist war on the nation. And that's a shame. That's a shame. That's a shame. Because they are supposed to maintain the law, make the law and maintain the law. But they don't seem to know that Nigeria's constitution prohibits state religion. And so the accusation that the Islam of the Boko Haram Muslim community was unorthodox should not have been of any concern to Nigeria, and must not degenerate into crisis, because the Constitution allows religious freedom and freedom of association. So And now they are the leaders of this coalition, the ADC. Will they still continue to support politicization of Islam and Christianity and expect to do something different from what the APC is doing? That is crucial. That is crucial. Very, very crucial. More so, Aminu Tambuwa was one of the three persons mentioned by the Boko Haram Muslim community when the community was ready for dialogue in 2012. They mentioned three persons that must be present if the dialogue was to take place. The Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammadu Saad Abubakar III, Aminu Tambuwa, the then Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, and Major General Muhammadu Buhari. The three of them declined, and so the dialogue did not take place. The dialogue that would have restored Nigeria's peace since 2012, but it was never to be. So they cannot continue with that mentality, and Nigerians will hope in them to bring anybody. It's like Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who did not see anything wrong with the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari or with S-men terrorism that he promoted, or how Buhari doubled himself as Nigeria's petroleum minister, accounting for nothing, whether as a president or petroleum minister. And Tinubu simply vowed to continue in the shoes of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan, and Muhammadu Buhari. So if this political party is not going to be different, so then Nigerians should not hope for anything good from the APC. So that is that about David Mark and Aminu Tambuwa. In the third instance, you have Nasir El-Rufai, who, as the governor of Kaduna State, was accused of politicizing Islam and ethnicity against Southern Kaduna. And is also fingered to be the brain behind the Muslim ticket of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a Muslim from the south, and Kasim Shettima, a Muslim from the north, being the president and vice president respectively. And that Nasir El-Rufai was behind it. I don't know if he has denied that, or whether he can even deny it. At any rate, politicization of Islam against the constitution that prohibits state religion calls for serious soul searching. In the fourth instance, you have Rauf Aregbesola, who politicized religion in Osun State, taking over missionary schools and imposing hijab on the schools. So also politicizing religion, pumping money into Christian and traditional religious festivals as a ploy to promote Islam and impose on Nigeria on taking over missionary schools. So that type of mentality, Islamic mentality, to rule Nigeria, a secular country, that speaks to Aminu Tambuwa, David Mark, Nasir El-Rufai, Rauf Aregbesola, and also Peter Obi. Yes, Peter Obi, also accused of being a sentimental Catholic. favoring Catholic institutions like schools and hospitals when he was governor of Anambra State. Even he's going to Benin, to Edo State, with particular reference to Benin, I think, was also on invitation by a Catholic hospital, and creating political crisis in the state. It will be a different matter, of course, if he was invited by a political group. But this Catholic thing with Peter Obi, and then of course, is hypocritical going to break fast with Muslims. All of that shows that Peter Obi is raw in terms of politicization of religion against the constitution that prohibits state religion. Imposing jihadist war on Nigeria. So, what do you expect? What do you expect? So, that is the fifth person mentioned now. Lastly, the last but not the least, Atiku Abubakar. Though he has not been part of government since he left power as Nigeria's vice president to Olusegun Obasanjo for 8 years, 1999 to 2007. But he said something recently that is scary, and most unfortunate, as a matter of fact. Despite all the all the killings and destructions in the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community, Atiku Abubakar could still say, without conscience or horrible, that he urged Olusegun Obasanjo to take up arms against the community, against the Boko Haram Muslim community. And he lied that Obasanjo took up arms against the community. Whereas the community made no single headline throughout the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo. But the implication is that Atiku Abubakar is still bent on looking for power to fight the Boko Haram Muslim community. Despite the failure of President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who started it. He started it in 2009. He himself died in 2010. And the war subsided until President Goodluck Ebele Asikwe Jonathan exacerbated it. Squandered his 4 years on fighting the Boko Haram with all these forces of Nigeria. 4 years, he failed. Muhammadu Buhari, 8 years, he failed. And now Bola Ahmed Tinubu, since more than 2 years, failed. And Atiku Abubakar is still talking of how he urged Olusegun Obasanjo to take up arms against the community, meaning that if he gets power today, he will continue the war against the Boko Haram Muslim community so that Nigeria can continue to be a nation of terrorists and armed bandits. So, these people, Islamic mentality, Christian mentality in a secular state, in a secular country, which constitution prohibits state religion, guarantees religious freedom and freedom of association. But it's not to be, because Islam must be imposed on Nigeria. Christianity must be imposed on Nigeria. Nigeria must fund Christian and Islamic pilgrimages. To the extent Tinubu can remove subsidies from basic necessities of life to be funding pilgrimage bus and subsidizing pilgrimages to please the almighty Christianity and Islam. So if that is the mentality, these people will have nothing to offer Nigeria. And that's why Tinubu is not offering anything to Nigeria. He has been sustaining the war, sustaining the herdsmen terrorism, and sustaining the corruption worse than ever before. So, what have these people to offer? We need to know. Eh? Because once beaten, twice shy, the so-called All Progressives Congress has been retrogressing Nigeria worse than ever before since 2015 till date. And if that's the way these people will go, so what's the point? What's the point? But I'm saying it so that Nigerians can be sensitized and they themselves can be sensitized. Nigeria must rise up against misrule based on the Islamization and Christianization of Nigeria. That is just it.